Hello, Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity, and today we're going to talk about Parkinson's and the gut, or really the gut-brain axis, which maybe 20 years ago we didn't even really understand, let alone how much of a massive impact it plays. And before we do this, make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel. Now, getting on to this particular study, it looked at people, followed them for 15 years, and looking for people who had, average age at the time was around 52. They looked for, on endoscopy, or looking at duodenal, upper GI image or scope, looking for erosions, esophagitis, ulcers, or basically stomach injury or gastritis. And they followed these people for, like I said, average 15 years to look at what percentage of those people with stomach damage or what do they call it, dysfunction, if you will, on the scope versus the people who did not, and their risk of development of Parkinson's. Now, they did find that at baseline, the people were more likely with erosions were more likely to have, and I'll call it erosions, but it encompasses all of that, were more likely to have H. pylori infection. I've covered that a lot in detail. I think H. pylori is more opportunistic than it is problematic. The PPI use, so acid blocking drugs, one class of them, NSAIDs use, so ibuprofen and all of those things that we know damage the gut, as well as smokers and constipation. So like those people have those things alone will put you at increased risk of Parkinson's. Without going into too much detail about what we understand in Parkinson, it has a lot to do with mitochondrial, the ability for especially the substantia nigra to generate energy, or the dopaminergic neurons in the substantia nigra to generate energy, to release dopamine and control unconscious movements. Usually with Parkinson's, you've got the pill rolling effect, and that's, but as soon as you start to use it, that goes away. And they found that there was, the people who had damage were, the numbers were still small, but it was 2.2%. The ones who didn't have damage, only 0.5% ended up developing Parkinson's disease. It's 400% increase. Again, the overall numbers are not low, or not that high, but the difference between the two was quite staggering over this time frame. So what does this mean? It means that gut health plays a huge role in everything, but in this particular case, in brain damage that can lead to things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. That means looking at, obviously, our anti-inflammatory use, it looks at our diet, looks at food allergies that contribute to esophagitis, especially eosinophilic esophagitis. I've talked about this lots in the past. So identifying those food allergies, it's not about covering it up with acid blocking drugs. That, if you've got a bleeding ulcer, that class of drugs will save your life. If you have gastritis or esophagitis, long-term use of that drug is, nothing is going to destroy your health more than messing with a critical aspect of digestion. I would suggest instead you look at what the actual problem is and you fix it, because I don't want to say nobody, it's very rare that the problem is actually making too much stomach acid. So bottom line, I've covered a lot about how to improve gut health, but it is going to have, if you don't take care of it, it's going to have downstream consequences on pretty much everything, but definitely the brain. As always, I'll post a link to this particular study in the description. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel.